Coraline remembers the day her parents had forced her to quit school and move into an old house deep in the woods. She had grown up in isolation from the real world. Coraline had spent the past few days packing. She didn't own much besides her notebook and a few old clothes. It was April 2nd, the night before her and her parents were to move. It was late and she couldn't fall asleep. Her parents had not explained anything to her. She doesn't know where she's going or why. She stayed up all night thinking about how different her life would be. It was around 3 a.m. when Coraline heard a conversation between her and her parents that would leave her more curious than ever before. "Are you sure we're doing the right thing, Solana?" said William in doubt. "Of course I am. She can't be exposed to those people. Their morals will screw up her life. What a shame on the immigrants. They are selfish and will ruin our daughter." Solana was angry. She couldn't believe the immigrants had come to her town. "Listen, Solana, we will still have TV at the new house, and it's not that far out that we won't get the daily newspaper. She will figure out sooner or later." William didn't want to remove his daughter from the real world. But Solana had already bought the new house, and there was nothing he could do about it now. Coraline knew it was going to be a long night after hearing that conversation. She knew it was morning when she heard the birds chirping and the smell of her parents' coffee. No matter how hard she tried to forget about her parents' conversation, she couldn't. She was curious and she wanted to know more. She wondered who the immigrants were and why she had to stay away from them. Her mother and father had spoken so negatively about these people. What had they done wrong, she thought. The moving trucks were outside her house before she even got out of bed. She carried her boxes and all her belongings to the truck with her pajamas on. The trip was long and Coraline had slept for most of the ride. She had awoken just as the truck pulled into the driveway. The driveway had to be at least a mile long. It was surrounded by trees, rocks, bushes, and a water stream, the one thing Coraline was fond of. They were in the middle of nowhere. The house was exceptionally big, but it was old and worn out. It was creepy, a house that you see in movies. Coraline was nervous for this new life. She had already been living as minimal as her parents had wanted her to, only owning a few pieces of clothes, none of which she had a choice of. She never owned anything that was different or pretty. She had never felt that. Her parents wanted her to be just like everybody else. Her parents quickly unloaded the boxes and began settling into the new house. The wind pushed against the windows, trying hard to get in. Every few steps you would hear a crack in the wood, something Coraline despised but had to get used to. It was only the first day, and Coraline was already bored of this old place. Only having a few boxes to unpack, Coraline decided to explore the woods. The wind was dark and heavy and only reminded Coraline of the darkness the new house casted. She loved Oregon, but there was something about her new home that made Coraline want to move out the state. There was nothing to do besides throw rocks and play with sticks. "Coraline," called her wannabe perfect mother. "Come here and help with the boxes." Her mother had always had a clear sense of what she wanted Coraline's life to look like. Normal and the same as everything else. Which is why they moved away to a seclusive place away from the immigrants. Coraline walks back to the house quick, but slow enough to notice the environment around her. Sticks break and leaves crumble as she walks through the woods that has no path. She hears what seems to be lighter footsteps behind her. She walks faster, not because she is scared, but because she doesn't want her mother to be angry with her. She calmly turns around to figure out what creeped behind her. The black cat looked in her eyes as human people do. The cat follows her back to the house, but doesn't go inside with Coraline. Solana and William had made sure to get the Daily Mail before Coraline had awakened and only watched TV when Coraline was in the woods. This was a normal thing for her now. They have lived here for the past 5 months and Coraline spends most of her time outside. William and Solana had made it a plan to consistently speak unnecessarily loud about the immigrants in an evil way when Coraline was home. They didn't want her to think any other way but negatively about them. Coraline knew nothing but hatred for the people that she had never met before. Coraline hated every day. She always wondered what life was like outside her old musty house. She was so desperate to know who the immigrants were. What had they done? Why did she have to move? She began to get angry, not at her parents, but at the immigrants, the people she had never met before. They were the reason why she had to move. She believed they were everything her parents described them as, selfish and inconsiderate. Months had went by. Coraline's parents had done the best they could at hiding Coraline from the real world. She never figured out. Coraline had spent months dreading the next day. Nothing was ever new for her. It was almost as if she was blind. She never saw anything new, she never felt anything new, she never experienced anything different for so many months. It was the first day of summer. Coraline woke up with the sun shining right on her face, something she wasn't used to. Her parents had always made sure to tell her to close her blinds before bed. This morning they were open. She didn't think much about it. She just laid there embracing the new sun she had never felt before. She was getting up from bed when she heard the same footprints she heard when she explored the woods when she first arrived at the home. She saw Charlie walking towards her. Coraline was surprised. Charlie had never come into the house before. This was something different for Coraline. First the sun, now Charlie. She wondered what was next. Little did she know what the day held for her. She knew that if her parents saw Charlie, they would never allow her in the woods ever again. Charlie began nudging at Coraline's leg, insisting that she follow him. Charlie nudged her and looked towards the window several times, explaining to Coraline to follow him out the window. Coraline knew that if she didn't go see her parents, they would look for her in the woods and find her with Charlie. That wasn't an option on Coraline's list. "Charlie, stay here, don't move. I have to see my parents or they're going to try looking for me all day," she said. Coraline went downstairs only to hear her parents arguing about the immigrants again. "It's been too long, Solana. We can't keep her in here forever," said William. Solana responded in a harsh tone that Coraline had never heard before. "That is enough, William. You know what will happen if she goes out there. They'll teach her it's okay to take our jobs and invade our space. How can you even think that's a suitable world for our daughter? If we let her go now, she will see the way that people like us are fooled to like them. She will believe being friends with the Hispanics and the Native Americans is right. You think the life she is living here right now is suitable, Solana? What are you thinking?" said William. "What's done is done. She is staying here," Solana demanded. William was never fond over the idea of isolating Coraline, but Solana knew nothing but her way. He went along, helping her throw out the papers and silencing the TV while Coraline was home. There was nothing he could do now. He thought maybe Solana was right. Maybe this was the right way for Coraline to live her life. He was wrong. Coraline enters the room when they're done fighting. She's curious, but after hearing her mother's tone, she is too scared to ask any questions. She says hello to her parents and returns back to her room faster than normal. Charlie was sitting waiting on her bed and quickly gets up when Coraline enters the room. Charlie approaches Coraline and nudges her legs. Charlie never usually embraces Coraline like a home cat. Charlie had always been there for pure company. Without even noticing, Coraline follows Charlie outside her window. Like usual, she ends up in the woods with Charlie, but Charlie travels farther than normal. Coraline has nothing else to do but follow him, so she does. She sees the stream that she first saw when she came to the house for the first time. Charlie brings Coraline all the way down the stream. Coraline looks back and the house can no longer be seen. She wonders how long she's been following Charlie and where they were going. They ended up at the end of the stream on a two-way road. If it wasn't for Charlie, Coraline would have never traveled all the way down the stream. She continued to follow Charlie. They had only walked 5 minutes on the road when she started hearing cars. Something she realized she hadn't heard in months. The town was big, but the buildings were small. She had never seen anything like this before. She wondered why her parents had removed her from this life. She had never seen so many people that looked so different than her, people with tan, dark skin. Who were these people, she thought? She wondered if these were the foreigners her parents had been talking about. She saw people who looked like her, laughing and speaking with the immigrants. I thought they were bad people, she said. If they were who her parents described them to be, she imagined people like her to stay away. But they weren't. This was the life Coraline was isolated from, a life full of culture and different stories. She walked to the main square where she was greeted by a lady with long braided hair. "Hello, little girl. I've never seen you here before." Coraline was nervous. Was this lady going to try and hurt her? Kidnap her, maybe? Sadly, these were the first things Coraline thought of. It was because of her parents. They had shaped Coraline to believe these people were bad, but they weren't. Coraline walked away remembering the negative things her parents had said about these people. "Sweet girl, what is your name? Don't worry." "Where are you from?" asked the woman. "I live in the woods," said Coraline. Looking at the woman's facial expressions, Coraline knew how peculiar her response was. "Why have I never seen you here before?" said the lady. "My parents don't let me leave the house. My cat Charlie led me here." "Well, let me show you around. You've missed so much," the woman said with great embrace. Coraline had spent the rest of the day exploring the city. She met Hispanic and Native American kids her age. They played ball and laughed all day. She couldn't comprehend why her parents had taken her away from joy. She remembers wondering what made her parents hate these people. They were nothing but accepting and welcoming to Coraline. It was dark. Coraline couldn't find Charlie, and she couldn't remember how to return home. It wasn't long until she heard the voice of her parents. "Coraline!" her mother yelled. "Coraline, where are you?" Solana had spotted Coraline sitting with the kids surrounded by the immigrants. "Coraline, what are you doing? What have they done? Are you hurt?" Solana said. "I'm fine, Mother. What's going on? These people, they're so nice." "Coraline, let's go now." "No, I'm not leaving," Coraline said. "Coraline, stop it now. You don't know these people. Their intentions are malicious. When you are older, they'll try to steal your jobs and ruin your future," her mother said with hatred. It was at that moment when the same woman that Coraline met when she first arrived in the city had gotten up and walked towards Solana. "Hello, miss. My name is Cheyenne. I see your frustration and I am confused and hurt. My people have never done anything to you. We came here and earned the rights to our jobs. We are here so we can create a future for our children." "You alien! Don't speak to me!" Solana yelled. "Enough, Mother," Coraline said. "I've never had as much fun in my entire life as I did today. These people are not evil. It's you that is evil. I'm staying here," Coraline demanded. "That's funny, Coraline. Get in the car now." "William, tell her!" "I told you, Solana. She had to figure out someday," said William. Coraline was angry at both her parents for damaging her life, but she was surprised to see that her father had denied that Solana was right. "We can't do anything now, Solana. If we bring her back now, she'll only want more. They didn't harm her. They welcome her. We must do the same." "I can't believe you, William. You know what's going to happen. Coraline will never be the same. This is the end of our innocent daughter," Solana cried. "Not the end of our daughter. It's the end of her misery. Her new life begins now, the way it should have began." Coraline and her father stayed in the town with the immigrants for the next year, frequently traveling to see Solana. But nothing was ever the same. William and Coraline had welcomed in this new lifestyle the way the immigrants had welcomed them into theirs, with open arms. The immigrants, they were good people. Without them, Coraline would be miserable. She had learned to accept and love, all thanks to the immigrants.